Mickey Mouse might be one of the most iconic mice of all time, but behind that bright smile there's some dark theories brewing. From the dark origins of Pluto, to the Clubhouse being an AI prison, and everything to do with Oswald, we've got quite the stories to get into today. Mickey's Best Friend is a banned, controversial 10-minute cartoon short that was allegedly shown in theaters on November 15th of 1929. So later on, it was never allowed to be shown again due to its history of viewers requiring constant attention after viewing it. It isn't even available to anybody who wants to complete their collection of classic Mickey cartoons, except for a couple of theater showings in the late 1990s. Somebody got lucky. It was originally intended to be a Halloween-related short, which revolved around Mickey and Eustace, an anthropomorphic dog character. So it opens with Mickey driving to his workplace in his car. Pretty simple. Well, along the way, the car breaks down due to an engine problem, and this new character named Eustace arrives and helps out by fixing the issue. Mickey's relieved, introduces himself, and after getting Eustace's name, he's like, let's go somewhere. So the two stroll up to a cafe where the owner walks up and rudely asks Mickey what he wants. After ordering, the sheriff, Pete, enters and confronts Mickey, demanding that he finally pays off his late rent. Mickey's on the verge of a breakdown, and Eustace takes pity on him and is like, you know what, I'll pay off your debt. The sheriff's laughing and he's like, oh pal, Eustace, yeah, Mickey's only gonna cause you trouble. And then he leaves. Mickey's relieved that he's off the hook, hugs Eustace and is like, woohoo! The two leave the cafe together and Mickey begins to introduce Eustace to all of the local residents. And none of the residents seem to care, they walk away. The last resident they speak to begins to chuckle for a bit and warns Eustace that he should be careful around that mouse. Eustace tries to get an explanation on what's going on, but then the resident is gone after this. Eustace asks Mickey, like, why are you still smiling after all this negativeness? And Mickey's like, well, I haven't really had friends before. You're the only one. So Mickey and Eustace, in a bunch of quick scenes, stop by a theater, they play a game, they go everywhere. And afterwards, Mickey's like, hey, this is my home. Wanna move in? Well, it's there where Eustace is like, I feel bad, but like, I gotta go. Mickey doesn't take this too well. He's like, this is a betrayal. Well, Eustace apologizes and is like, look, pal, like, you're great and all, but I gotta go home. Mickey decides that he can't lose his only friend and knocks him out with a rock that was found on the ground. The next scene shows Mickey walking down the stairs to his basement. He turns on the lights where Eustace is tied to an operating table. Yeah, he's out like a light. Mickey talks to Eustace through this state, telling him that it has to be this way. He constantly shouts, I can't be alone anymore, and finally gets a scalpel from under the operating table and begins to work on him from off screen. After Eustace finally awakens, it's revealed that he's no longer anthropomorphic. He's now a real dog. He's freaking out, he can only bark. During the freakout, our camera switches to first-person mode, and we see Mickey entering the room. Eustace no longer seems scared the moment he sets his sight on Mickey, and suddenly he feels like he needs Mickey, and he pounces on him, giving him all sorts of affection. Mickey tells Eustace nobody will ever know about this, and he's gonna be known as Pluto until they part. Yeah, that's how Pluto came to be. Pretty dark, eh? I'm pretty sure we've all heard about the infamous Sewerslide Mouse short, the fictional short from the original run of Mickey cartoons where he's all glum, walking around, and then everything gets distorted and no one knows what happens next. Well, what if I told you this was inspired by real shorts of Mickey trying to take his life? This is the exact plotline of a seemingly bizarre series of comic strips released in the 1930s, where our favorite mouse goes bonkers, trying to gas, drown, and rope necklace himself after he catches Minnie kissing a sleazy con man named Mr. Slicker. The story itself was suggested by Walt Disney, who was apparently the ultimate gag man. This was inspired by the 1920s film Haunted Spooks, starring comedian Harold Lloyd, who similarly tries to end himself. Mickey's attempts to take his life end absurdly. The scenarios ranging from discovering that his pistol is nothing more than a water weapon, to the pool he tries to jump in ending up being too shallow. But still, just really dark. Here's a doozy. Donald, Daisy, Goofy, Minnie, Pluto, and even Pete. They're all dead. Some folks think that Pete might have killed them all in a mass killing situation, and this is because Pete's a bit of an a-hole. So for watching the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse show, in the beginning theme song, you see Mickey walking through a park. Probably the same park where Pete picked off everybody that mattered most to Mickey. Mickey takes this walk to remember his friends and have these imaginary adventures with them. You'll notice his friends don't arrive until he imagines the clubhouse. Also, during the closing of the show, he is always the last friend to walk out of the clubhouse gate as it disappears. So back to Pete. You'll notice in a lot of episodes, Pete's not behaving too nicely. He's always the bad guy. As the episode progresses, Mickey and his team work hard to convince him that doing things the nice way is better, and eventually Pete has a breakthrough. but only for that episode. This is Mickey's imagination trying to convince himself that he has the ability to change Pete's wicked ways, but he's just constantly reliving the past. Really sad. Mickey Mouse Clubhouse takes place in a virtual reality created by Professor Ludwig von Drake. So both the professor and Mickey are trapped in the simulation after the professor's AI, Toodles, evolves into a rogue AI and takes over. This is evident by nearly everything in this world being created in real time. For instance, the opening to every episode starts with Mickey emerging from the woods and asking the audience to say the voice-activated password, Miska Muska Mickey Mouse. This spawns the Clubhouse and the rest of the simulated Disney cast. Mickey asks the audience, who are viewing the simulation outside the system, to say the password with him because he can't access it from within. This then gives the audience access to other voice-controlled commands throughout the show. As the professor and Mickey are the only real people in the simulation, they devise a plan to escape. So the professor, with his knowledge of the system he created, creates all these daily scenarios for Mickey to solve. This includes either programming different challenges or personally showing up to instruct Mickey on a task to solve. The professor then moves to a different part of the simulation to monitor the results. Mickey uses the simulation's cast and audience viewers to complete these tasks and learn more about the artificial reality. He probes the limits of the simulations, what he can create through the use of levers or the audience's voice control, and most importantly, his interactions with Toodles, who now controls the simulation in its entirety. Every episode, Mickey uses the audience to summon Toodles at various points throughout the episode. Without the audience, Toodles doesn't spawn. Mickey is then able to use a tool selected by the audience to complete his task. The objective here is to finally access the Mystery Mouska tool. But why? Well, the professor and Mickey have theorized that the only way to escape the simulation was to get Toodles to produce the instrument of their escape. Since their access is limited within the simulation, they can't do it themselves. But then by using the audience's access, because that's a user of the system, they can get Toodles to generate new tools that might ultimately lead to freedom. So that's why every episode has the exact same format. The professor devises the challenge. Mickey gives the user the system password, and then instructs them on the commands to spawn new tools, and the professor observes so that he might create new challenges that create a higher probability to spawn a mystery Mouska tool that they're hopefully able to use to escape their virtual purgatory. We're gonna end today with a lesser known theory, and it has a lot to do with a silly little rabbit known as Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. He starred in several animated short films that released in theaters from 1927 to 1938. After Universal took control of Oswald's character in 1928, Disney used a new character similar in appearance to Oswald as a replacement. So after Universal took control of Oswald, Disney created a new character similar in appearance to Oswald as a replacement, Mickey Mouse, who went on to become one of the most famous cartoon characters in the whole wide world. That's right folks, it didn't all start with a mouse, it started with a rabbit. Fast forward to February 2006, Disney CEO Bob Iger initiated a trade with NBC Universal in which a number of assets, including the rights to Oswald and all of his shorts, were acquired by the Walt Disney Company in exchange for sending over somebody else to NBC Sports. Whole thing. And Mickey has been super depressed ever since Oswald has returned to being with the Walt Disney Company, feeling like his spotlight is dimming. In 2012, a newly redesigned area at Disney's California Adventure included Oswald's filling station, which exclusively sells just Oswald the Lucky Rabbit merchandise. In 2014, Oswald began making appearances in the area near the shop, but he is never seen with Mickey, leading folks like me to believe that Mickey feels slighted by the attention Oswald is getting and is very petty over it. Well, that's it for me once again, folks. I've been Alexa, your resident oogie spooky girly. See y'all next time, you lovely spooky people.